Good afternoon. Now the pasta will kick in and most of you will fall asleep in about 2 minutes. So today we'll continue the ongoing saga of the low-level waste regulations and guidance on Part 61 and the other activities related to those. So Part 61 is the regulations for disposal of low-level waste. We have been working on updating and a limited rulemaking the regulations to deal with long-lived waste associated with large amounts of depleted uranium and other specific issues such as blending of wastes and some other issues. Back in 2015, we put out a 2016 we put out a draft rule for public comment, and last September we proposed to the Commission a final rule based on the public comment on the rule. We are currently involved in several topics related to Part 61. I'm not going to be speaking to most of these, but these are all related topics to Part 61. And so, yes, it does sometimes seem that we're working on a lot of issues related to Part 61, and they can get mixed up in the mind. The site-specific rulemaking is the rulemaking we're currently working on, but there are tendrils into a lot of these other issues, such as GTCC, which is of interest, which we will touch on later today in the topic today, and some of these other issues such as on the 2002, which I will talk about today too. The rulemaking, yes, was the proposed rule was issued in 2015. Draft rule was sent up in September. And the Commission just recently finally voted on it on September 8th, giving direction back to the staff. The Commission decided that they didn't agree with the staff's direction completely and proceeded to provide new direction to the staff on the period of compliance, dropping the period of compliance for all analyses down to 1,000 years for all radionuclides. Also changed some on the definition of what is defense in depth, what is a safety case, and doing some other things such as what needs to be in the regulatory analysis, in other words, the cost-benefit analysis for analyzing the rule to deal with pass-through costs for how does this affect companies who develop depleted uranium, who manage depleted uranium. And they also said, instead of going just final with these rule changes, which could have been the point of the Commission has that right, they said, put this rule out for public comment again. So they said, but before you do that, please go out and get some information on these pass-through costs for how a change in the rule would affect pass-through costs to the industry. That meeting is going to handle, okay, sorry, I got through all the changes here on this part of the rule. So these are basically the 5 things they basically told. Reinstate the 1,000-year compliance period, clarify the safety case definition, narrow the defense in depth, be informed and be better informed in cost benefits, and allow case-by-case application of new requirements for existing sites as long as they don't take large amounts of depleted uranium. So some of you may have heard we're having a meeting tomorrow, public meeting tomorrow. That public meeting tomorrow is only on trying to gather information for the cost benefits analysis to support our future supplemental rule we had to put out. We have to gather some cost benefit analysis here to get these pass-through costs from the industry. We will be putting out this rule after we make all these changes that are done by the commission. We will be putting out this rule for public comment probably in the May time period. That is what we are currently shooting for. We are to put it out for probably, I think it's 90-day comment period. We will then have public meetings around the country. In addition, there are other topics that will be that are co-located with that, dealing in Part 61, specifically the one on the lower triangle on GTCC. With the Part 61 public comment period, there will be public meetings on the GTCC topic during that comment period also, because we are to be working on the GCC topic at the same time as we issue the supplemental rule for public comment. To not continue to delay working on the GTCC work. Because we were waiting to work on GTCC when we finalized this proposed rule on Part 61. As this triangle shows, we have two other near-term tasks that are focused, that are really related to Part 61, which is the Uniform Waste Manifest, which once Part 61 goes into effect, that's how you ship waste to a site. We have that is going to be ready to go as soon as Part 61 is completed. We already have a draft ready to go out, and that's going to go out now to get comment for it. It really isn't, it's been worded such that it's not dependent on the final changes of like period of compliance and other things like that, so we can get most of those things ready to go. The potential rulemaking on waste classification, that is a to-do that the commission asked for us back in 2008 to say to potentially change the waste classification tables after you finish this rulemaking, this limited rulemaking, which we've been working on since 2008, and we are to go up and provide a recommendation to them whether we should still do that, and we're going to do that after we do this rulemaking, evaluate whether we should do to revise the waste classification tables in Part 6155. We will go out with probably an FRN requesting information for the public at that point to gather information before we go up to the commission for that. So that is the current status of Part 61 in our ongoing sagas. But again, we will be going out for the main time for public comment on the revised guidance and revised rule about like the time of compliance, how do you meet the new specifications in the rule, will be when we go out for public comment next spring in May. The meetings right now in this comment period, the 30 days, which started probably yesterday and for the next 30 days, that is focused on getting some costs associated with on what the pass-through costs to the industry is for us to support the regulatory assessment for how much it costs to do the changes to the rule, so we can put out the supplemental rule in May. The other thing that we're doing right now is for several years we've been trying to build guidance on how do we do alternate disposal requests and how do we approve them. In our regulations, we have a couple of mechanisms for doing how do people do alternate disposal requests. Most of these are how people ship waste. Instead of shipping them to a low-level waste site, they ship them to a RCRA landfill. However, and that's under the regulation 2010 10 CFR 20-2002, or 10 CFR 4013A for uranium and thorium. But that's not the only thing that can be done under those. 20-2002 is anything you can think of, any alternative, anything not allowed under 20-2001. It can be an on-site disposal. It can be recycling. It can be reuse. So we are trying in the guidance to provide more clarity, consistency, transparency on what do we review, what our process, what do we need to do more stakeholder involvement in, where do we need to inform the commission on, and what is the word disposal mean, which is because the word disposal does include reuse and recycle. You know, we have done stuff with uranium and thorium slag that has included using that as aggregate material in roadbed before in cooperation with the EPA. There has been other cases. They're not very common, but they do occur. That's been our current practice for ever since 2002 has been there. This came out just recently in a Federal Register notice, probably this week, and we're having a kickoff meeting of drafting the guidance for a 60-day comment period tomorrow, and we are going to have a second meeting on taking comments sometime in approximately 30 days. We haven't set up that meeting, but we're going to have another meeting on the guidance so you give people a chance to digest the guidance and have those comments. And of course, one of our web pages is all about the 2002 process. And so those are questions.
Yeah, quick question.
Okay. You can find that page by going down into I'm trying to think. It's under low-level waste, under waste management, and our webpage too. Yeah, waste, low-level waste disposal, and then 2002 is a pull down.
Thank you, Chris. We have time for one quick question for Chris.
Yeah. Yes, Chris. How long did you guys have a schedule as to how long you think it's going to take to finish that cost analysis for Part 61 as directed by the commissioners?
Repeat the question.
Okay. Yeah, Scott Kirk asked about how long it would take to do the cost analysis. See, that's why we're asking for the data right now, is because the regulatory analysis is required to be part of the package to be released to the public as part of that supplemental rule. And so to allow us to issue the supplemental rule in May, we need to get the data right now for that package. And so that's why we went out for a Federal Register now to get some data right now for that one. Again, people will be able to comment on that regulatory analysis and that cost data we got as part of that process too. So it's not your only bite at the apple on that cost data.